Hey there, I'm Mick Finch and welcome back to Blue Chip Machine Shop. Tonight I want to show you something that a good many of you guys out there are probably going to have problems with at some point in time, and it's the collet aligning pin inside the spindle of your Bridgeport. My buddy Dave needed one in his a while back. I documented it on the blog. It was surprisingly easy, and I thought it might be something to show you real quick. This will not be another one of those boring 40-minute videos. It's pretty quick work. All you need is basically a soft face hammer, 3/4 inch socket, and a 1/8 inch Allen wrench, and of course the parts. What I'm going to be doing is replacing this small alignment pin, and I'll show you a close-up of that later, but here's basically where we're at. You first have to remove whatever arbor is in your spindle, and you'll notice most of them have a slot cut in there. That's the alignment slot for the aligning pin. A lot of people will tell you that they aren't necessary. I'm not going to debate that. I don't think they're absolutely necessary, but they're a nice feature to have. It will allow you to get your tool holders in the same spot and give you some repeatability. But as I said, I don't think they're totally necessary, but that's not the point of this video. I want to show you how it's done. Mine is mashed over pretty well. I can feel it's been flattened out. Apparently at some point I didn't get it in properly, and it kind of spun on one of my arbors, which will probably be getting replaced at some point. But that being said, why don't we just get started? First thing I'm going to do is remove the hand wheel, and obviously I've got the tool out. I'm going to loosen the 4 3/4 inch bolts that are on the front of the head, and you'll see it shifted a little bit. You have a worm gear over here, which will allow you to rotate the head. I'm going to bring it down to close as I can get to 90 degrees so I can get you a better look at what's going on here. Obviously, if you do this, you're going to have to retram your head to put it in a perpendicular position to the table. There's a worm gear inside here that I'm not sure whether the gear is brass or the driven gear or the drive gear is brass. One of them is brass, and they're known for breaking if you stress them too much, so I'm going to lock it down there, and I think that's going to be good enough for right now. I'm going to reposition you, and we get a better look at it. Okay, you may or may not be able to see this on camera here, but inside there is a little nub that is your collet alignment pin. This is the beginning of the taper, the R8 taper going up into the spindle. I've put it in neutral so you can get a decent look at it. Our first step is to pull the spindle out a little bit, and I'll lock that. This ring here is your dust cover. What you need to do on the back side of this spindle is a 1/8 inch set screw. And what I'll do is I'll loosen that up. One of the things that you'll want to take care to repeat when you get done with this operation is you want to have some play up here between the outer collar and the spindle shaft itself, or the outer spindle shaft. The book calls for 3/1000. I don't really think it's that fussy. I've got 8 or 10/1000 there, so I know I'm okay. But let me see if I can get that 1/8 inch set screw out, if I can find the hole. This is the screw that keeps the collar from spinning once it's installed, and I'm not going to take that all the way out. As you can see, mine is not that stiff, so it does unscrew without a great ordeal. Some of you may have to make a some type of wrench with 2 pins in it, a pin wrench, but that's basically what you're going to end up with. There is an O-ring. Well, mine doesn't have an O-ring, okay? Most of them have O-rings inside to help seal and keep the oil inside the spindle head, but mine doesn't have it, so, and I'm not going to sweat it. These machines are total loss machines, so any oil that you put in is gonna run out anyway, and that's how you know you're getting lubrication. At this point, I'll put the hole for the alignment pin up at the top, which is recessed behind the edge of the spindle shaft. So in order to do this job, you're going to need ball end Allen wrenches. I'd suggest you put a cloth down or a garbage can lid or something so that you can catch any parts that fall out. Let me put a little light on this. And you're not going to be able to see it if I do that. Okay. This, using the ball end, there's a locking cap screw. Let me get a magnet before I lose this. I'll show you all these parts close up in a little while as soon as I get them out. Okay, there's your locking cap screw. Very small, and you don't want to lose it. Now for the pin itself, this is a little bit more stubborn. It's going to be a bugger getting it out because it's peened over from having the thing spun. A collet spun in there and kind of peened it over. I'm wondering if I'm better off going in with it. Let's try that. Yeah, maybe not. Okay. I'm going to need a little bit of a helper here. Hold on, bear with me. This must be peened over pretty good. I don't remember it being this bad on Dave's mill, but it's coming out. It just took a little persuasion. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty beat up. Let me pause it there and I'll get you a close-up look at it. Okay, there's the three pieces, two of which I took out of the mill. That's your collet aligning screw. And you can see that has a much more defined profile to it. That one's been mashed out quite a bit. And there's your locking screw. That's hollow all the way through, so you can actually slide it down on the shaft. Hope that's focusing. But that's I don't know how much detail is showing up, but that one is pretty much squashed down and is wider than the slot in the tool holder. And that one's a nice round dog screw, I think they call it. At this point, what you want to do is address the spindle itself, which is going to need a little bit of a cleaning. My spindle's in pretty good shape. I've seen some that are, really bad, but this one is fairly clean. Okay, let me try to get this started. This is a little tricky at times because there's not much room and it is recessed up there. Don't know whether you can see past my hands. You either need midget fingers or a 4-year-old kid to help you with this. Sometimes you just gotta start it with your fingers. Clearly this is slow going. guess I should have some background music going. This is the kind of thing when you're watching it, it looks real easy. Hey, dummy, just shift it over a little bit. And you almost have it, but when you're doing it, it's not so easy. I know when we did the one on Dave's mill, this was the worst part of the job. It took about a half an hour to get it all lined up. Tried all kinds of different stuff and none of it worked. So it's just a matter of perseverance. You got to just keep on getting it. I promised this wasn't going to be a 40-minute video. I sure hope it's not going to make a liar of me. Let me get a pair of needle nose. That might help some. Be right back. Okay, it's started. Okay, and at this point it's sticking out just a little bit. Let me get a tool holder and we'll see how close we can get it. Okay. You don't want to get the pin too tight because it will interfere with installing and removing your tool holder. That seems just about right to me. Now we have to put the set screw back in. Wonder if I can do this without dropping it. This is a little difficult because there's really nothing you can hang on to. And it's real tiny. Oh, how do you like that? It's in. Okay, and with this, you don't have to get crazy tightening it down because it will strip very easily. Okay. As you can see, it goes in very easily. And I believe I've got full engagement. Okay, now we're just going to clean up our cap a little bit. Probably would be a good idea to mark this as to where the set screw was initially. I think that's what we'll do. You'll see on this there is, let me clean it off a little bit. You'll see a hole where the set screw was, and that's what we're going to do is we're going to try to put that back in the same spot and see what the clearance looks like. Just give it a little mark with a Sharpie. Oops, sorry, banging you all around there, aren't I? Okay, that's in the same spot, and we've got clearance, so I'm gonna go with that. Now you tighten up your set screw. Again, you don't have to get crazy with it, and then double check everything. Fits nice and snug and smooth. Better to have it smooth, because you don't, when you're doing this on the mill, trying to change tool holders and you're in a hurry, you don't want anything binding up on you. All right, let me change camera angles again, and we'll get you. I'll show you the poor man's tramming method. Okay, as you can see, that's not a big deal. It took about 10 minutes total, and what you got to do now is probably more important than even having a alignment pin. You've got to set the head up again to the vertical position. A little bit of resistance here. It's best to take the weight off of the head with your left hand while you're doing this, so you don't wear that gear out, or break the gear, I should say. Okay, that's a little stiffer than I'd like to see. Take the weight off the head, it will be a whole lot easier to get it up. Now, you can look at your gauge back here and see that you're just about at zero. But best way to just give it a quickie alignment is with a framing square. I'll have to bring the table up some. All right, wish I had a power feed. I don't know if you can see it there, but we're tilted a little bit to this side. So what we'll do is bring it back around. You've got a couple flats on the front of the head, which will tell you when you're getting close to zero, and at zero. Then snug a couple bolts. Double check it again. That's pretty darn close, and I'm showing zero on the gauge. So for today, that will be close enough. What I will do is shoot another video at some point on how to tram the mill, which is very important. And it's one of those things, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that's it. Hope that helps somebody out. I will test it under power at some point, but as you can see, the tool holder goes in nice and smooth. If I can find it. And that should work out just fine for me. Quick repair, something anyone with an 1/8 inch Allen wrench, a hammer, and a 3/4 inch wrench should be able to handle in no time at all. So, with that being said, I'll see you next time. Thanks.